Hey guys, welcome to a new tutorial. Here's what we're going to do today. You can see that it's a very simple animation of the interface of an app. Of course, this is a fictional brand, and we're going to create this simple animation that we see here, but it has some tricks to it. So let's begin by going to Illustrator. We're going to use After Effects for creating the animation, of course, but we're going to use vector files that comes from Freepik, and I already arranged this vector file in a way that we can work on After Effects with everything separated. So it's going to work pretty well. You can see how many layers I got. I put some names into it. So we can jump now to After Effects. Let's create a new composition. This composition will be, we can set it to 800 pixels on each side. It's going to be a square, of course. Click OK. But on the composition settings, let's change, instead of 10 seconds, let's change this to 4 seconds, because it's really important that we make it short, because it's going to be a GIF. So the most important thing about creating a GIF is that it begins just like it ends, so that we don't see any cuts anywhere. You can see that it's very fluid here. You can see any breakup, any cut, any sudden cuts into this GIF. So that's very important. Let's go and let's bring our file. Let's go to Import File. Choose your vector file. It's called Vector, and import as Composition Retain Layer Sizes. Click Import, and you will have a new composition and a new folder with all the vector layers. But just bring the vector file here on After Effects, and that's it. Okay, now first let's create a new solid, and this solid will be a light gray. Bring it behind the vector file, and this will be called background. Okay, now let's jump to the vector file, and first let's see what we have here on these layers. We can make this a little higher, like this. Okay, now you can see all the layers. This mask layer, we are going to work with that later. We have the sun and the clouds, which is this layer, of course. We can put a lock on it because we're not going to actually do anything with it. We have the box. We have the scooter part, which is this one right here. We have the man, which is of course the man driving the scooter. We have the scooter. We have this shadow here. We have the trees, and we have the sign in text, this rounded rectangle that we're actually going to create a new one. We have the create account text, and we have the white shape. Now this last layer interface is everything else, this orange background with these parts. This is the interface, and of course the logo of the app. Okay, so we can put a lock on this one also, the interface, because we're not going to do anything with it for the moment. And now let's begin creating the animation then. The animation is actually really simple. You can see that it's not so complicated. So let's begin. Let's begin by creating this animation that is happening right here on the bottom part. You can see the shape is going down, and then the sign in and create account appears. Okay, so let's begin with this. Let's go to the white shape. Let's open the position with P on the keyboard, and create a keyframe by pressing on the stopwatch. Now let's move to the frame 15, which is this one right here, and create a new keyframe. Alright, and move 15 more keyframes. We can change that later and create another keyframe. Okay, now on this middle keyframe, I'm going to move this shape around here, around this point, so it's going to animate like this. Now you can see that it's too slow, so we may have to narrow this maybe to 10 frames apart. Let's see how this works. It's still too slow, so let's narrow this even more to 5 frames apart. Alright, now this is it. Now this keyframe, if you press F9 into an easy ease keyframe, change it to easy ease, and now the movement will be a little smoother. We could even move this last keyframe just a bit so that when he goes up it's slower than when it's going down, like this. Alright, now that's it for the white shape. You can even lock this up so that we don't do anything with it. Alright, now let's go with the sign in and the rounded and the account. First, let's work with the rounded rectangle, and for this part we're actually going to create a new rounded rectangle. So create a new one and make sure that it's created on a new shape layer, and just create a new rounded rectangle. Try to use the same color. Alright, place it right here, and now you can erase the rounded layer, and let's rename this as rounded rectangle. Alright, now open up this layer, open this, and now let's begin. First, let's make this layer begin right on this point, right when this goes up, right around here. Create a keyframe for the size on the rectangle path, and another one like 5 frames later. Perfect. Now on the first keyframe, click here on the chain so that you can change these parameters and change this size to the same amount that it appears here, which is 41.5. Change it and it will become a circle. Now make sure that the layer begins right here by pressing Alt and the closing bracket, the opening bracket, so you will have this thing happening. Now when this appears entirely with the rounded rectangle completed, that's when the sign in text will appear. So just press the T on your keyboard to open the opacity attribute. Click here, move some frames, and change this first keyframe to 0 on the opacity. like this, but let's actually make it slower, like 10 frames. Okay, like this. Now for the account, let's make it also begin over here, and what we're going to do is pretty simple. Just open the position, create a keyframe, and right here create another keyframe. Now go back to the first keyframe and move it to the top, so this will be the animation. Make sure that this last keyframe is easy ease, so that it's smoother when it gets to this point. You can even make it slower, just like this. Alright, now we're done with this bottom part. We can lock everything so we don't touch it by accident. Let's see how this looks. Alright, we're good over here. Now, what I did, just for the sake of keeping things nice and neat, I grab everything on the bottom except for the interface, or even the interface, and I change the color to a cyan, so I know that these layers won't be touched anymore. Alright, now let's begin the animation here for the scooter and this guy. Now let's begin with the trees. Now the idea here is to create this animation, and you can see that it's a seamless animation of the trees, but it's actually the same trees layers that we have on After Effects, but you can see that they go on and on and on, and they won't ever stop. So to create this seamless animation, it's actually pretty simple. Let's grab the trees layer and right click on it and click on pre-compose. Now call this however you want. You can call this trees, and you will have this pre-composition. Now open this pre-composition, and here's what we're going to do. We have these trees layers, which has some position here, and now we're going to create a duplicate. It's going to be called trees 2 or whatever you want, and we're going to place this duplicate over here, just by the right side of these other trees. Now let's open the position for both of them, and here's what we're going to do. Create a keyframe for the position for both of them. Move, I don't know, let's begin with 1 second, and we can make sure that it looks good later. And now create a keyframe here on the first second. Now right now they aren't doing anything, of course, but here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this first layer, the trees layer, the original one, and let's leave the position, the first keyframe here, and for the second keyframe we're going to move it all the way through here. Now for this second one we're going to do the opposite. The first layer will be right here, and the second one will be a copy of the first one, so that we make sure that it gets right where this one ends, just like this. Now right now they are looking like this, which is pretty cool. You can see how it looks on this part. Alright, now this distance is very cool, the 1 second. Now here's what we're going to do. Press N here, to trim this composition right where this ends, right here. Now you can close this trees composition if you want, but the important thing is this one. Outside on the vector composition we have the trees precomp, right? Now we're going to take this and go to layer, time, and enable time remapping. Now we're going to have two keyframes here. Now pay close attention to this. We have two keyframes, one at the beginning and one on this point right where this layer ends. So here on the last keyframe, move back one keyframe by pressing Ctrl or Option, and left move back one keyframe and create a new keyframe here. Now this last keyframe, double click on it and change this to 0, and now delete this. Okay, we're going good. Now with Alt or Option selected, click here on the stopwatch and you will have this expression. Now go to expression language menu here, go to property and choose this one, loop out. Now when you do this, what we created is a seamless animation. Pretty cool, right? Okay, we're done with the trees now. And now is where we use this mask layer. We have this mask layer. You can see it here. What we're going to do is to place this on top of the trees pre-comp. And now the trees, let's go to track matte and change this to alpha inverted. To alpha matte, sorry. Now when we do this, we are creating a mask, so that means that the trees won't be looking, we won't be looking at this part of the trees, the part that goes outside of our screen. Now let's create another animation. Let's take a look at our GIF. You can see that this guy is moving all the time on the scooter. Then the scooter is bumping a little. We can see the shadow movement, and this part is moving independently from the scooter, and also the box is jumping. So let's create all these little animations. Let's begin with the man, and here's what we're going to do. We're going to open the position here, and we don't actually need to pre-compose this. Just click here on the stopwatch and move around 10 frames and create a new keyframe here, and then move 10 more frames and create a new keyframe. Now maybe we can narrow this later or spread it. Let's see how it looks. On this middle keyframe we're going to move this man a little bit, just a little bit, so that it looks like he's kind of bumping here on the scooter. Let's see how it looks. Okay, this is fine. Maybe let's move it a little bit less, like this. It's almost imperceptible, but it's fine. Now change this to an easy ease frame. Okay, this looks good. Now we could repeat the same process for the trees and create a time remapping, but it's just a few frames, so we can just copy these keyframes here, copy these last two keyframes, let's see how it looks. Okay, it's fine. Now we're done with this. Now it's very important that you attach this man to the scooter with the parent whip, because now if we move the scooter we will move the man also, and the same goes for the scooter part. Make sure that they're both attached to the scooter. Okay, now we have the man moving. Now it's time to move this scooter part. Open the position to keyframe, 10 frames later a new keyframe, and one more keyframe. Move this a bit. Let's see how this looks. Maybe this is too much, just a simple movement. Okay, I make this an easy ease keyframe, and let's just repeat this all the way to the end. Now the problem here is that they are both moving at the same time to the same position, so this doesn't look necessarily good. So to fix this is actually very simple. One of the ways is just take this layer and offset it a little bit to the second keyframe like this, and this will work out. Now just go to the end, spread this to the 4th second, and create one final keyframe like this. Now you can see that everything is seamless here. We can't see any cuts on the man or on this scooter part, on the trees or anywhere. So that's pretty cool. Alright, now we're almost done. Now it's time to play around with this scooter. Now go to the position and go to the second two and move to 10 frames before the second two, and click here for the position. On second two, create a new one, and 20 seconds before we can create another keyframe here. Now we have this, so on the middle keyframe we're going to move the scooter just a little bit, not too much, just like this, just a little jump, a little bump. Maybe the scooter hit a little bump on the road or something, so we have this little movement. We can maybe increase it just a little bit. Alright, we're good here. Now open the rotation attribute and create a keyframe here too. Make sure that both keyframes are on the same place as the one for the positions. And here's what we're going to do. On the middle one, we're going to change the position just a little bit. The rotation, I mean, let's change this to -3, like this. Now let's increase the height for the position, and you will have something like this. Maybe this is -2, and let's change the position just a bit so we can create this little bump on the road for the scooter. Now make sure that all of these are easy ease so that they look better. Let's see how it looks. Alright, now take all these keyframes, the ones for the position and the rotation, and go to the last place of the animation, go back 20 frames and paste them. So that way you will have every 2 seconds you will have this same animation. Alright, that's it for the scooter. Now let's animate this shadow. Take a closer look. Now we have this shadow here, right? So when this motorcycle or the scooter goes up, this shadow should be smaller. So let's go to the shadow and click S to open the scale property and create a keyframe right where the other keyframes for the position and the rotations are, and on the middle one just change the scale. Click here on the chain and just change the scale a little bit, maybe to 75, like this. So this looks way better now. Now go back. You can make this easy ease if you want. Copy all these keyframes, go here and paste them. Alright, now we're done with the shadows and we're also done with the scooter. So now it's time to play around with the box. Let's close all of this. Go to the box. And the idea is that when this scooter jumps, the box will also jump. So first thing that we have to do is to attach this to the scooter. So we're halfway there. Alright. Now, using these keyframes as our guide, we're going to open the position. We're going to create a keyframe. We're going to open the rotation and create a new keyframe. Now open up both and create keyframes for all of them 3 times. Alright, so when this scooter is jumping, right here we are on the air, the position should be higher, like this, not too much, just a little bit, and the rotation should go like this. Let's see how it looks. Alright, this looks good. Maybe we can move this up some more. Alright, now make this easy ease. And now let's offset these keyframes just a little bit, not too much, like this, so we can have some nicer looking animations. Alright, we're done with the box. Now let's copy these keyframes and let's place them here. Alright, that's it for the box and we're almost done. Now we're just missing one thing. I want that by the end of the animation, you can see that on the bottom we have this animation, but I want this to finish just like that because otherwise it won't look seamless. So I want it to look seamless. So what we're going to do is to take the sign in, the rounded rectangle, and the account, and we're going to pre-compose them. We're going to call these, well, I don't know, we can call this sign in. Alright, now this has some animation, so let's go to the second two and we're going to cut this layer right here. Now duplicate this pre-composition and make sure that the duplicate starts right when the other one ends, like this. Now this will have the same animation, but here's what we're going to do. We're going to, with this selected, go to layer, time, and time reverse layer. Now it's going to play backwards. Now you can see that it's actually a seamless animation. Alright, we are done with the animation. You can see that it was pretty simple. Now let's jump to the comp wand. And now on the effects and presets, go to and type drop shadow. And let's just add a shadow here, a very simple shadow here. Change the distance, make it softer, and let's drop down the opacity like this. Now let's hit play, and that's it. We have a very nice animation. Let's open this up a little bit. So you can see that we created a very simple and seamless animation using just a few steps on After Effects. So the idea here is to create a GIF. You can see that we can see any cuts. We can see any cuts being made anywhere. It's just playing around and around all the time, so it's looking pretty good. I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. It was very simple, and thank you for joining me, and see you on another tutorial.